I begin by saying this. Right from Chinua Achebe, who was quoted here by Joshua Igara, to J.C. Maxwell, to as many authors as you like to bring in, the fact of life is this. Human society, in whatever organization, whether it's in small groups, as families, or as society, or as a country, or as a region, we rise and fall depending on the kind of leadership we have. And therefore, for us, not just as Kenyans, but as Africans, this is a good time to talk about leadership. At the beginning of this decade, when in my previous life in the academy, we used to debate a lot, President Thabo Mbeki of South Africa came up with the African Renaissance and said, Africa is now being reborn, and Africa is facing new challenges and going to break new grounds. And everywhere, even international media began to scream that this is Africa's decade. And it was Africa's decade because we have probably the largest conglomeration of talent in the numbers of our young people, huge deposits of resources, and we are endowed in more ways than one and have the capacity to succeed. But unfortunately, I think, and I asked Joshua whether I could speak candidly. He said, yes, I can. Unfortunately, I think we have not effectively addressed the challenges of leadership we face in our continent, in our countries, and in our communities. And if there's anything I've learned the last 7 years I've been in government, is that we could do a lot more than we are doing, if we actually addressed some of the challenges we have in leadership. We have very serious weaknesses in our leadership. Sometimes in our environment or even in our countries, I honestly think we spend too much time on politics, more time than we should. And this hurts the potential that we have to do great things. I do not know who cast us, but I don't know why we sleep and wake up thinking about things that could not move us to the next level, like belongings, where we come from, who we are. And half the time we are lost in debates on pettiness, and we lose sight of the big things that we need to do that could unlock our potential and cause us to succeed. So I will share just about 5 lessons I've learned in the last 7 years as a minister. One, to succeed as leaders, we need to master enough courage. One of my favorite books in scripture is the book of Joshua. And 11 times or more, because that's from the version of the Bible that I read, the Lord kept telling Joshua, be courageous, do not be afraid. Surely God himself would not tell a human being not to be afraid if he didn't think you can actually be afraid. Because you can be afraid. 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to share with you practical real experiences. About 2 weeks ago, for the Kenyans in the room, I went to Mombasa. And I decided on that Sunday morning with my team in the security sector to spend time to walk through Kisauni, from end to end of Kisauni. I met huge numbers of young Kenyans. 9 out of 10 people I met that morning, I swear, are below the age of 30. And about 6 out of those 10 people could not account for themselves because they are totally dazed, affected by the amount of drugs they have consumed. And as we tried to even have conversations, it was impossible to have a conversation with them. In fact, you have to stand very carefully or else they can even fall on you. And you can see in the lives of those people the effect of the weaknesses we've had in managing ourselves, and how, because of our craze and worship for money, we have betrayed our own people in terms of protecting them against drug traffickers and drug dealers. And we actually stare the reality of losing almost a generation in that part of the country. And that is because of leadership. To confront challenges like those, you need courage, the conviction to contest convention. When I came into government, the most common thing you hear in government is when you ask people, why can't we do this? The most common answer is, that is how we have always done it. We don't want to do it differently because this is the way we have always done it. And yet, that way we have always done it has not worked for us. Whether it is setting exams and selling them and rigging them and cooking up grades that do not exist, people tell you that's how we have always done it. Even when you ask a very simple question, why do we mark exams and complete the marking by December, and then wait to release the results in March? They tell you, that's how we have always done it. Because in between here, we have 3 months to cook results, to interfere with the results and do what needs to be done. We need courage. My brothers and sisters, there is no day like another in leadership. Every day is new, and every challenge is new. In most cases, the challenges we face are daunting, whether you're talking about leading your own family or leading your organization. You must start with the conviction to challenge convention, that I am going to ask the question, why can't we do it differently? When I was in the youth group in church, we used to sing a chorus that time, which ended like, dare to be a Daniel, and dare to stand alone, and dare to have a purpose, and live by it. So secondly, to succeed as leaders, really must have a purpose beyond self. We will not achieve anything as families, as communities, as a country, if we do not have in leadership the commitment to look beyond self. And again, let me tell you very sincerely, it's okay, it's fine and dandy actually to be a minister. I mean, you are paid well, you are driven around, you're even given bodyguards. You can drive for 7 days without going to the petrol station to fuel your car. But you know, you can also be lost in that sort of opulence and you do nothing for the people who in the first place are the reasons why you hold the position. And for me, I want to be honest with you. Every day I wake up, I ask myself the question, what are the pains that those people out there expect us to resolve? So that, because once you ask that question, you will not see a limit to the extent you need to apply yourself. I have never seen a limit to the extent I would like to apply myself if I am going to solve a problem, because you think about the problems of those people. I used to meet people when I was Minister for Education who were very surprised that I would wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning to go to the containers. And I told them, I have no problem staying awake all night if that means that those children get genuine grades and they move forward in a genuine manner. My comfort means nothing. I could stay in my house, wake up in the morning, chances are that by the time I get to the door, there will be someone salute me, even if I've done nothing. Then be driven back left, enjoy the comfort of this life. But that hasn't changed the lives of the people for whom we actually, in the first place, are employed. So our lives really must have a purpose. There must be something you live for. And that something cannot be the comfort of your office. And for us to make the change that we need to make, we must always ask ourselves that question. What do we live for? What is the purpose of what we are doing? One of my former bosses told me that if you leave an organization and people do not miss you, or no one misses anything you are doing, it means you ought not to have been there in the first place anyway, because you never made an impact. So I go around telling public servants, okay, if you can do nothing, at least plant even trees so that when you are gone, someone might say, these trees were planted here when so-and-so was the minister. At least do something, as it were. At least do something. Move to the next level. Thirdly, there is no way we can achieve anything without sacrifice. Frankly speaking, leadership and sacrifice are two sides of one coin. We have to make sacrifices. Sacrificing comfort is one thing. Most importantly,
huyo ni Matiangi akizungumza tu pale ambapo kongamano ilikuwa, na ameweza kuzungumza mambo mengi, sana sana akizingatia mambo ya elimu na uongozi kwa ujumla. Sijui una maoni gani kuhusiana na alichoongea Fred Matiangi? Kama uko na maoni niachie hapo kwenye comment section. Kama hujasubscribe na kuomba uweze kusubscribe, finya notification ili wakati wote tunapata habari kama hii unakuwa mtu wa kwanza kuipata. Je, unaona Matiangi anaweza kuwa kiongozi wa taifa ama ni kelele tu kama viongozi wengine, akipewa nafasi ataweza kuchemsha? Sijui una maoni gani kuhusiana na hayo. Hebu niachie maoni yako hapo kwenye comment section ili tuweze kuwa mbele pamoja, au sio? Asante sana kwa kutazama Source TV. Hadi wakati mwingine, na kutakia mchana mwema. Asante sana.
Be courageous. Do not be afraid. Surely God himself would not tell a human being not to be afraid if he didn't think you can actually be afraid. Because you can be afraid. 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to share with you practical real experiences. About 2 weeks ago, for the Kenyans in the room, I went to Mombasa. I decided on that Sunday morning with my team in the security sector to spend